ram here, starting the year where the head of Adam Kadmon is. The big brain, the small brain. Cerebellum, cerebellum. In Italian, this is called cervello, and this is called cervelletto, which means little brain. Aries, Taurus, rainbow. So we see the start of the year, the natural year of the wave is always, thank you Walter Russell, at equilibrium. Nature always begins at equilibrium. So that is the true starting point. You can start the wave here, in the middle of its progress, or a quarter of the way of its progress, if you want to, at Cancer or Capricorn. You can start it here. The Jews start their sacred year, secular year here in Tishri, Libra. Rosh Hashanah, meaning the start of the year. Anna is annual. So the Jewish word Hanna is Anna, annual. And that's Rosh means the head. The letter R, Resh, means head. Rosh Hashanah. Here they start their sacred year. Here this is Nisan, this is Tishri. So we see these are the twins. In all of theology, this is Cain, this is Abel, this is Adam, this is Eve, this is God, good, this is evil. The same with the waxing and the waning. So what we're going to do is we're going to start our journey here now, and we're going to look at all the festivals and see how Aries affects the festivals of the Easter time. We see how May Day on the 1st of May affects the Taurus energy, the Torah of the Jews. And Pentecost happens here on Underwater. We're going to see what happens in Gemini. We've already seen what happens in Cancer. John the Baptist's birthday, I will go decreasing, he will go increasing. We're going to see all of these festivals. We're going to come to here, Halloween, All Saints' Day, and we're going to see why and understand all of the ecliptic directly. So let us proceed then. Become masters of the ecliptic. These are some of the festivals that we're going to have a look at now. We're going to start at the vernal equinox. There's Aries, there's Taurus, there's Gemini. Everything is on this wheel. That's the 8-spoke wheel. In India, this is called the Dharma wheel. Dharma is Adama. Adam is Atum. All is Atum. That's why it's called the Atum wheel, the Dharma wheel. And we are here to do what? Good Dharma, good work. And that's the wheel. That's the will of God. The wheel, which is also the law. Oh yes, and I'm not making this up. This is how it works. It just works like this. This is how language works. Wheel, wall, law. The law is always in the wheel, the cycle, because it's observable, repeatable, and predictable, that every wave will do this. It goes up to wave amplitude, has to go back to the other wave amplitude, and gets centered in the middle all the time. That's how energy works. So, here we go. The vernal equinox. What do they do on the 21st of March over Stonehenge? They watch the sun at the middle. Because the ones who watch the sun at Aries, they know why Easter means the star is in the east. because they're watching it on the horizon as it goes from Aries to Taurus, to Gemini, and then to Cancer. And then on the 21st of June, they notice on the horizon, if you watch the sun, as I do, in the morning and the evening, when it gets to Cancer, 23.5 degrees from Aries, 23.5 degrees there on the horizon, then you can watch it go back. Cancer, Leo, Virgo, and then Libra is always waiting in the middle again, in autumn. And then you watch it. Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn. And then from there, from the winter solstice in the south, climbs up again. You see the goat go all the way over there on the horizon. There's the goat. Bang. Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, Easter. Christmas, Easter. Then it goes again. And you'll see this on the Union Jack, on the flag of England. Jack is Jacob, the son. It's always red, white and blue. White is magnetism, and white generates redshift, blue shift. Hence, Republicans are red, Democrats are blue, roses are red, violets are blue, red pill, red blood, red siren, blue siren, red hot water, blue cold water, red little girls in their pink clothes, blue for little boys. It's all red, blue, red, red shift, blue shift in the electrical wave world. That's why they're telling you here. And this is also at St. Peter's Square in the Vatican, where they've got the obelisk here. Here is the Vatican here, and then here. I walked down this road. This road is called La Via della Riconciliazione, the road of the reconciliation. You paying attention? Why is this road called the road of reconciling? When you reconcile something, you grab something from that polarity and something from that polarity and you bring it in the middle. You balance it out. You're reconciling. Enemies reconcile. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Reconcile. Oh, obviously, because here is Capricorn, and here is Cancer, and here is Aries and Libra. And so at the Vatican here, what's going on is there are, when the sun rises at the Tropic of Capricorn in the winter, here is the east, this is the east, and this is the balance. See, the sun is going on the horizon, it's going Capricorn, Cancer. This is the north, this is the south. So this is facing the east. Rome, the Vatican is facing the east always, and then they watch when the sun is there in Capricorn. They're waiting for it to Capricorn. They're waiting for it to come to here on the 21st. On the 21st, the sun is reconciled in the centre. That's why it's called the road of reconciliation. Reconciliazione. Yeah. And then they watch it go to the Tropic of Cancer, beautiful hot summer. The sun rises here, it casts a shadow on the Vatican. There's a little statue, a structure of marble, or I think it's like the obelisk is here in the middle of St. Peter's Square. And this is the Vatican, okay? St. Peter's Cathedral. And then when the sun on the 21st of June it reaches the maximum wave amplitude. It shines, the obelisk casts a shadow on the pavement here and lights up the top of this statue. At night, the sun is on that side and it casts a shadow in the evening over here and hits here. Shadow, shadow. Then, from Cancer, it has to wane all the way back to Capricorn. And as it gets to here, on the 21st of March, the start of the year, and the 21st of September, the opposite, in Libra, the scales of balance, reconciliazione, to reconcile your debts. Libra's always there, right at the middle point. There's Libra. And Aries, the judge, krios, judging. As Ptolemy said, Aries is krios, in Greek means the judge. He's judging. 12 hours of darkness, 12 hours of night, so he's in control of that, and so is Libra. It's all there, it's all astrological, it's all archetypal. No one made this up. Then, when it gets to the Tropic of Capricorn, same thing, shadow, shadow, and there's your Union Jack. The Union is here, is there. And that's why the Jews call this, the 23rd of September, the Day of Atonement. At one mind, right here, the Day of Atonement. So what they're doing now, these people, is they're celebrating this very holy day. In Japan, they have a holiday on the 21st of March, Shinbun no Hi, the Day of Balance, the equinox, public holiday. Here and here, both public holy days. You see now, watch the ecliptic, notice the festivities, and know all things directly. Don't let them tell you, oh, we do Sakura because the blossom of Aries, and we go under the cherry tree and we have a public holiday because we're just weird. We just inherited the 21st of March to be a public holiday in Japan and everywhere else around the world. You won't subscribe to this rubbish. You won't read these pseudo-intellectual etymologies and anthropologies and reasons for how we have inherited certain things. You'll know directly. It's all on the wave. It's all on the wave. Hot cross buns. Why? Well, because the sun crosses over from the winter. That is a sacred point. Of course you're going to be eating hot cross buns because the sun is crossing over. March the 21st. Easter. The star is in the east. North, south, east, west. That's why you celebrate Easter in Aries. And Easter is also Awashtati of the Babylonians. Easter, Ashtarte, Astarte, Isis, Freya. Why does Easter always begin on Good Freya Day? What's Freya got to do with Easter? It's the same goddess. Freya, Maria, Aurea, the wife of Saturn. So Easter is in honour of Good Freya. Always begins on Good Freya. Okay, you getting it? Every year, Easter begins on Friday, Good Friday, because she's God. Friday, our Mother who art in heaven. So what have we got here? We've got Astarte, yes, ancient Greek Ishtar, Hathor, Ostara of the North, Demeter, Ashtoreth, Aphrodite, Cali, California, the Holy Land, California. Hilaria, hilarious means to laugh. Why do you laugh in Aries? Why do you celebrate to hilarious? Hilaria, the goddess of the vernal equinox, in honour of Sibyl. The Romans also celebrated Hilaria as a ferio sativa. On March 25th, there you go, the day between my and my mother's birthday on the 26th, mine on the 24th, the true start of the year, 25th of March, as is the true start of the Capricorn year, the 25th of December. Such a day imprinted on our minds, so should be the 25th of March. Hilaria, and you laugh because there's a new year coming. The sun on the ecliptic is laughing because it's going to start a whole new tragedy for you. Okay, you can read all the rest. Probably you want to zoom in on that for the camera there. The day of this celebration was the first after the vernal equinox, or the first day of the year, which was longer than the night. So the 25th of March represents what? The first day of every year where the day is longer than the night. Because while the sun is here, from here to here, for 6 months, the nights conquer the day. The nights are long, long nights. You've only got a small arc of day. In Scandinavia, you've only got 2 hours. Do all your job quick. Get the hammer out, build the house. Sun goes down. You only got 2 or 3 hours. So, 25th of March, day after my birthday, is the true start of the year because the days now are longer than the night. And the sun has conquered the darkness of winter. Hence you celebrate the resurrection of the Lord in Easter because he's resurrected. Yeah, resurrected from the winter. So he's gone into Aries now. The sun has finally got to that equinox point. 25th, it starts longer days, and it's resurrected. It was dead here. This is the tomb. Now it's resurrected. And you celebrate Easter and the resurrection of the Lord. And in astrology, Aries is where the sun exalts. Exaltation, resurrection, same word. Whether you go by astrology or theology. Theology tells you that here the sun resurrects. Astrology tells you here the sun exalts. Nowhere else, just Aries. Let's see what else happens in Aries, shall we? In the Bible. Oh, okay, we've mentioned this before. Interesting. The day of conception is also called the Feast of Annunciation, where Gabriel comes to Mary and says, Mary, on the 25th of March, you will conceive a son. The Son of God will be born in 9 months from this day. I am announcing it to you, Mary. And he was born right when the angel said, because the angel knows the ecliptic. And isn't it funny that that's the day of conception? There are 6 months where the child, the fetus, is up in the womb, and then at the 6th month it drops. Any women have babies here? Children? After 6 months, what happens? It drops, doesn't it? Oh, that's the drop. So this year is telling you how 9 months generate all souls. Okay? So, Feast of Annunciation. The Feast of Annunciation, contemporarily the solemnity of the Annunciation, commemorates the visit of the angel Gabriel to the Virgin Mary, during which they informed her that she would be the mother of Jesus Christ, the Son of God, that is celebrated on the 25th each year. It is a principal Marian feast, classified as a solemnity in the Catholic Church. 2 examples of Catholicism of the importance attached to the Annunciation of the Angelus prayer and the event's position as the first joyful mystery of the Rosary. First joyful mystery of the Rosary. What's the Rosary? The beads of the degrees of the sun on the ecliptic. That's why the Hare Krishnas have 108 There's 108 beads on there. There's 108 beads normally on the Krishna Tulsi beads, right? Why? Because 108 is a fractal of, well, 9. 9, 18, 36. 9 is the root number of all these holy numbers, 9. 9 doubled is 18. 18 doubled is 36. There's the clue. 360 degrees. 9 is at the root of the 360 degree system. 9. And then as you go up, you've got fractals of that. 108 is one of them. 144 is one of those numbers. All based on 9. And so that's what this is all about. Yeah, the first mystery of the rosary beads. Funny about that. Well, Nicene 14. Let's have a look at this. So, I've always made mention of this, and I found this on the internet when I was researching why are all these festivals happening in Aries when I was really getting into the ecliptic. And I discovered this in a website, and this is from a Christian perspective. You know, they're trying to tell you how holy this day of Nicene 14 is. Now I remember, because I'm a Jehovah's Witness, and we always celebrated in Aries every year at Easter at the full moon, as the Jews do, the Passover. And we called it the memorial of Christ, because he resurrects. Nicene 14 is the equinox. That's Nicene, Aries. The original Christians, please get this, please learn this. The original Christians were called 14thers. Did you know that? I learned that as a Jehovah's Witness. Please memorise this and share it with all your Christian friends. Why were Christians called 14thers? Because of this guy here. Now, Nicene 17, remember there's always 3 days after the equinox, yeah? Nicene 17 is the holy day pinned to Nicene 14, okay? Because you always wait 3 days after the equinox or the solstice. For instance, here, on the 21st of December, you wait 3 days and then the sun begins to move on the horizon on the 25th of December. Same here, 21st of March, equinox. For 3 days, there is no increase of the day over the night. You wait till the 25th of March, then you see an increase of the day over the night. There's always that 3-day wait. That's what Nicene 17 is all about. Now let's have a look at some of the things that happened there. Noah's Ark safely rested on Mount Ararat. On Nicene 17. That's Mount Ararat. The mountain of your body, Ararat is your body, that's the mountain of Ararat, Aries. When the sun comes into Aries, it rests on top of Mount Ararat. When it's Pisces, it's still at the feet. We're going to learn about what Noah's Ark is. Nicene 17, Hebrews entered Egypt before deliverance. Moses led the Israelites through the parting of the Red Sea. The day of first fruits, Israel entered and ate the first fruits of the promised land. The walls of Jericho fall. The cleansing of the temple by Hezekiah, 800 years after entering the promised land. Queen Esther saved the Hebrews from elimination, hence the festival of Purim in Aries. The Jews all get excited about Purim because they were delivered in the Persian days. With Mordecai and everything. Esther's cousin, he conceived of a plot to save the Jews, right? Well, Esther is Astarte, and Mordecai is Marduk, Mars. It's Venus and Mars, right there in the Bible. The resurrection of the Messiah. Again, we've focused a lot on that. But all of these events, they say, the odds of just 2 of these events all happening on the same day of the Hebrew year are 1 in 129,000. The odds of all these events happening on the same day of the Hebrew year are 1 in 783 quadrillion, 864 trillion, 876 billion, 960 million to 1. What are they telling you? Are you paying attention? They are telling you that this is not that all the sacred festivals, they just all happen on nice and 17. No, it's telling you of the sacredness of this sign beginning the holy year. Then here we go in India, the festival of colours. Well, because you look around in Easter, in Aries, you will see white blossom, yellow blossom, cherry trees, plum trees, blossom everywhere. Aries, the first sign. Colour, festival of colour, India. Colour, Aries. 29th of March, Saturn. This is the festival of Yahweh. Starts at sunset Friday night and ends 24 hours later at sunset. In that period of 24 hours, the world's seeking its pleasure, parties, liquor, shopping, sports and festivities. A miniature Saturnalia. Again, Saturnalia happens here on the 17th of December, just before Saturn in Capricorn, and the festival of Satur again turns up here. Licentious festivities, licentious festivities. This is a carnal way of spending the 7th day of the week as opposed to the spiritual feast in which the people of Yahweh should be delighting themselves in. What have we got here? Bikram. 31st of March, Bikram, the Jews know this, okay? A festival of the first fruits. Products of the orchards are brought in. Bikram. First fruits to the temple, Bikram. St. Lazarus' day. What happens to Lazarus? He resurrects. Because Lazarus is Jesus. They're all the same archetype. The sun resurrects in Aries. Brings back the long days. That's what it's all about. I'll leave that up for the camera. Sakura, again, the blossoms. See the cherry trees there? Ah, Aries, start of the year. Cerealia. You know that the 15th of April, tax day, used to be called Cerealia, where Ceres, the cerebrum and the cerebellum, bring you cereals, because the chrism comes from the cerebrum. Cerealia, Ceres, Demeter, Persephone, Ceres, Kore, Road, Radharani, Eve, Ramanavami, the festival of Rama happens in Aries, the lamb or the ram of God. Alright, so we're getting somewhere. We are becoming masters of the ecliptic direct knowledge here, folks. This, no one's going to teach it to you. You get it by going directly to it, checking for yourself. This is direct knowledge, this is the only way it works. No other way. There you go, the analema. Sister Lisa, you see how the analema, you can only explain this on a stationary, horizontal plane Earth. There's no way you can explain the analema with balls. Okay? You'll notice that the equator is not at the centre of the analema. Please pay attention to that. It's always 8.5 degrees. Notice the shape of the 8. And the crossing in the middle up there is at 8.5 degrees above the equator. Pay attention to that and you'll understand a lot. And it's the shape that the sun makes. As the sun goes up to the Tropic of Cancer, you'll notice that it's very narrow at the top. And as it comes around to August, August is over there, the 29th of August is at the crossing, and on the way up, April the 15th. Can I get a stick or something to point? I wonder if there's anything like that. I saw something before. No. All right. So, you see that April, the 15th of April, is the crossing on the way up to the Tropic of Cancer. August the 29th is on the way down. Do you know what August the 29th is on the liturgical year? The day of the beheading of St. John the Baptist. Anyone paying attention? Why is that? Why? There's August on the left. The 29th of August is at that crossing point. Why would that day there be called? Thank you, brother. Wonderful. So there's August. There's the 10th, the 15th, the 20th, the 25th. There's the 29th clearly. And there's April the 15th clearly. 29th going down. Remember, St. John in June, opposite January, Janus and Junus. There's Jesus' birthday, 25th of December, it's right there. There's St. John the Baptist's birthday. And as he comes down here in Virgo, remember the little virgin who danced for King Herod? And she danced so well, and she went back to her mother. King Herod just promised me half of his kingdom. What should we, what should I do? He says, well, don't worry about his kingdom. Just ask for the head of John the Baptist on a platter. The little virgin Virgo on the 29th of August. So that's the head of John the Baptist, because John the Baptist's birthday is at that solstice. He shall go decreasing, and Jesus will go on increasing. And there's the head of John the Baptist. Bang, that is the 29th of August, the beheading of John the Baptist. Pay attention, guys, it's so beautiful when you learn all this. There it is, the 15th of April, which is always Cerealia. And then the 29th on the way down is the beheading of St. John the Baptist. Yeah. Okay, so here we have the Yugadi, dealing with the Yuga, and it is the beginning of, it's always in the Aries period. Now we're coming to the cross-quarter day. There you have Beltane, Bel, the god of, licentious behaviour and what have you. Beltane, Mardi Gras usually happen here, etc. Beltane, the pole, the maypole. Pentecost of the Jews, because Pentecost means 50 days. Penta is 5, pentagon. Penta means 50 days, and 50 days after the equinox. That Pentecost happens every year. You see? Not exactly after the equinox, it's a lunar thing, because Easter is variable. Same with Pentecost, it's variable. Christmas is always fixed. Christmas turns up on the 25th every year, right? Because it's solar. Easter is lunar. So it's going to change. Easter will be always in Aries, but it's going to change. Same with Pentecost. But Penti meaning 50 is pinned to Nicene 14, 50 days after. Summer solstice, June. The beginning of the month Tammuz. Tammuz is the god of, it's Atum, that's all it is, it's another way of saying Atum. And there it is at the Tropic of Cancer, being Tammuz in the Jewish system. I'll leave that up for everybody because I want to fly through this. I want to get to the Dedra stone and all the deacons to finish off this presentation. So there you go. Isn't it interesting that at this solstice it is said in Tammuz that Moses breaks the 2 tablets of the law of God. 1 tablet waxing, 1 tablet waning. Of course Moses is going to break the 2 tablets in Tammuz. breaching of the walls of Jerusalem, yeah, because Jerusalem is always here in June, Jerusalem, and this is the breaching of the walls at that point, at the solstice. I know some people who have studied, like I have, literally, the Judeo-Christian thing. I'm always thinking literally, oh yes, but there was a temple. Yes, Moses, all of these things. The gospel is in the stars, guys. Don't look for historical. Get stuck in historical, primary explanations for these things. Yes, history has repeated what the Gospels gave us in the first place, but they are not the place to look. Always look to the heavens for all the stories. Don't look for a literal Moses, because you won't find it. It doesn't exist. History is not history. It's forever now. And Moses always was and always will be, and always will be breaking the Ten Commandments, and Jesus will always be dying and resurrecting. It's not historical, and yet it is. Okay. There you go. And supposedly Nebuchadnezzar destroyed the temple. Again, it's the temple of the ecliptic. Ramadan, Cancer, always in Tammuz around that time, July, June. The heat, the Islam gets fired up because now the sun is waning, so they're fasting. You remember the Jews used to fast in Tammuz, to the god Tammuz, and Jehovah rebuked them for fasting to Tammuz. Well, that's Ramadan, and what do they do in Ramadan? They fast. Why? Because the sun is waning. When the sun is waning, you fast. When it's waxing, you eat because you put on weight, and when it's the right time to eat, you've got to go in cycles. Ramadan, please read that at your own leisure. Beautiful information here, guys. Adam, can you see Adam in there? And can you see the ram? The ram, Adam? Because Adam means lamb. Eve means you. Wave, the you. Eve. And Adam means lamb. The birthday of St. John the Baptist. I will go on decreasing. The feast of St. Thomas. On July the 3rd. Right here in the month of Tammuz, the feast of St. Thomas, and lo and behold, the 21st of December is called the Day of St. Thomas. The feast of St. Thomas in Tammuz, the day. The feast and the day. Why? Why are these on the tropical points? Why is Thomas there, and Thomas on the 3rd of July? Because it's all is atum, and this is the T of Tammuz. Doubting Thomas. Thomas means twin. Yeah, because it's the day of St. Thomas the twin. That's one twin. That's another twin. Tanabata. I've been in Japan when they celebrate Tanabata. That's because Vega and Altair, opposite ends of the Milky Way constellation, they're always, there's the Milky Way in June, there's Vega, there's Altair, and they are lovers, the shepherd and his beautiful bride, and they can only see each other one day every year. On the 7th of July, and the Milky Way is directly above your head, and there's Altair. And there's Vega, the fifth brightest star in the sky. And that's where the vegans say they come from. Not the vegans as in diet, but from the star system Vega. Alright, Las Vegas. Why is it called Las Vegas? Because it's under the stars of Vega. Okay? It's at the same degree. That's why you've got 7 Salons in America. Why? Because they're all following the ecliptic. Remember the eclipse of 2018 in August, was it? Remember that one? It went from Salem, Oregon, all the way to Salem, Kentucky or whatever. Well, that's Jerusalem. It's the Salem is the ecliptic. That's why they are there. And the colonialists did not build them. The Tartarians did. The colonialists occupied them murdered the original inhabitants, and appropriated themselves of all the buildings. These buildings were not built by Europeans. Some of them are, but all the old ones they destroyed in San Francisco, Chicago, and all around the world, Melbourne, Australia, they were built by the Tartarians thousands of years before. They destroyed the magnetic grid and created an electrical grid for us to pay. Tanabata, learn about this. When you see the festivals of Japan or anywhere, you will now know how to interpret them. Why is Halloween here? Now, it's the 2nd of November. Why? Well, because the Pleiades now are at the mid-heaven, right now, at 12 o'clock. It's the Pleiades are visible now, rather. They're coming up. So it's all about the Pleiades, Halloween. And whenever there's a festival, look up, because the reason for the festival is in the stars. It's all in the stars. It's the gospel of the stars. We're learning it right here in all theologies and in all lands. It's all the same. There's the Aboriginals. They also had this Tanabata story where the two lovers, one on the other, Altair and Vega, being separated by the Milky Way, and they want to love each other, but only one day of the year can be together, on the 7th of July, 3 days after the 4th of July, right? Saint Mary Magdalene, why would the 22nd of July be Mary Magdalene's day? Anyone paying attention want to jump in? Why is that day there, the last day of Cancer, the 22nd of July, called Mary Magdalene? Because Magdalene is the moon. Magdalene, Helene, Selene, Leanne, all of these are Helene, Helen of Troy. It's the moon, and that's the last day of Cancer, ruled by the moon. If that celebration was any other day other than the 22nd of July, the Swiss watchmaker, the watch wouldn't work. No one makes this up. You pay attention and you find it. The beginning of the year, according to the Egyptians, the 26th of July in Leo. Again, the 25th, the day out of time, the 25th. Supposedly the 24th was the last day. July 25th was no day. Why? Well, because the sun has a 365 day year. The moon has a 364 day year. Yeah. And in between that is 1 day out of time. They are 1 day out of time from each other. It's all written up there anyway, you can read that. Joachim, another festival, the 26th of July. You will have to look for the syncretism in that yourself, guys, but it's there. The problem of Joseph having two fathers, one he's descended from Solomon and the other one from David, one descended from Nathan. Yeah, that's all explained here, why this Joachim in the Bible is connected to Jesus and Saint Anne and Saint Elizabeth. Okay, let's proceed. Here we go. Cross-border day. This is August 1st, Love Mass Day. There it is. Everybody was aware of it. It's a cross-border day. It's a portal. There's the sun above the head. They're showing humans are acknowledging that the sun is at a very important place on the degree right here, and it's a portal. See, that's the G of the Freemasons. G is goat, God, gate. Goat, God, gate are all the same words. They are wormholes, gates, portals. The sun is a portal. The moon brought us in here, being the ovaries of the system. The sun will take us out of here. Hence we must be heliognostics, knowers of the sun, and have knowledge of the sun. No one goes to the Father except through me, the Son, because he's talking about the sun. You cannot go back to cause without going through that body. That's your Saviour. The sun is your Saviour. Why is the 6th of August the Transfiguration Day? Well, it's because it's in the middle of the 6th of August. The Son of God gets transfigured. Of course, Leo is going to transfigure the sun. It's the most glorious time of the ecliptic. The sun in Leo in summer. Oh, man, does it show off. The roar of the lion, the heat, the dog days. Because Sirius is the dog. And it's always around here in Cancer and Gemini. It's actually deacon of Canis Major, but it influences the dog days of July because of precessional slippage. It's around here now. And so that's why the sun gets transfigured, because there's no heat like the dog days. The 6th of August. It's the middle of summer. The Assumption of the Virgin. So the Virgin, see here, Jesus gets resurrected, and then 3 days later, he goes up to heaven, and they see him leave into heaven. He gets assumed. Well, why does the Virgin get assumed on the 15th of August? Well, let's have a look. Let's pay attention. There's Virgo. There's the 15th of August. And what happens is when the sun comes into a sign, it blots out all the stars. You can't see the sign behind it. Because you're looking at the sun, you can't see any of the stars when the sun's out. But you can rest assured, like right now we're in the stars of Scorpio, November, you can rest assured that if you could see the stars behind the sun right now, there would be Scorpio behind the sun, because the sun's in Scorpio, it's November. But you can't see them. So that's why the 15th of August is the first day when the last stars of August, of Virgo, disappear. Up until the 15th of August, you can still see the last stars of Virgo, but on the 15th, gone. They disappear. Virgo has been assumed. The Assumption of the Virgin. But, and that's called Ferragosto in Italian. The Italians love the 15th of August, Ferragosto, for the Virgin. They love the Virgin Mary, right? So Ferragosto is one of the most popular festivities there. And they have it also Wafe Nil, a Nil, in the Egyptian system. What do we got here? Please read that, all you students of syncretism. Oh yes, we're coming to that. Okay. There you go. Remember the martyrdom, the beheading of St. John on the 29th of August? You got all that. Okay. There it is. There it is. Right there on the 29th of April, his head gets cut off. There it is, getting cut off. And isn't it interesting that Leonardo da Vinci would put Saint Anne, the annual year, with the mother of Jesus, and he's got a lamb? Because that day there, that's Saint Anne, that's Mary, or Elizabeth. Hang on, that's Anne and Elizabeth. So these are all dealing with St. John the Baptist. And there's the Lamb of God, Jesus, his cousin. That's all it is, it's astrological. There's nothing historical, but you know, you think, you get the churchgoers who say, oh, you astrologers, you've got these symbols of a bull, Taurus, you're demon worshippers. And bull, you see in the Bible, it's all sacrifice the bull. And the lamb is your saviour. The lion of the tribe of Judah is your saviour. It's telling you that animals are going to save their ass. And yet they laugh at you for being astrological, using the lamb in Aries. Oh, you can't use that, that's from the devil, but we can in the Bible. We worship the Lamb of God. 29 times in the book of Revelation, it tells us to worship the Lamb. This is what unthinking people do. They've been reduced to stupidity. And all of their service is in vain because they know not what they are doing. They kill you, like Jesus said. The day will come when they'll kill you thinking they're rendering me a service. Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they are doing. People are going to church and doing all sorts of foundations and charities, all for nothing, virtually for nothing. And it's very, very sad because their energy has been drained vampirically to serve the demon beast rather than to create light bodies. They are destroying their own bodies. There you go, Leonardo da Vinci depicting Saint Anne, her daughter, the Virgin Mary, and the infant Jesus Christ shown grappling with a sacrificial lamb, symbolising his passion as the Virgin tries to restrain him. There it is again. Why is John the Baptist and Jesus there now? Because it's all around Virgo, the Virgin, and the betrayal of the Son. Saint Anne, unknown, anagogic, analyse, anatomy. These are all words from the year, guys. Now, isn't it funny how 3 weeks after the Virgin is assumed, she's born on September, still in Virgo. September 8 is smack bang in Virgo. But why now is she born? Because now you wait for 3 weeks, now you can see the stars at the other end of Virgo coming up in the morning. You begin to see the first star, I think it's Speaker in the hand of Virgo, the grains, the cereals. And you see that sign, that turns up on September 8th every year. Virgo is born again. It's all on the ecliptic, guys. The Immaculate Conception. There you go. She was conceived on September 8th. Yeah, because it's born again. It's the nativity of Virgo on September 8th. There it is, the Immaculate Conception of the Virgin. She was pure and undefiled of sin. She's immaculate. Srimati Radharani's appearance day on the 9th of September. Who's Radharani? Well, that's the same as Mary Magdalene or whatever. It's the Virgin. It's Virgo. Radharani, consort of Krishna, whom I pray to every day and gives me everything I want and need. She turns up on the 9th of September every year. Yeah, Virgo. It's all about Virgo. It's always the Virgin, guys. Autumnal equinox, halfway through, let's keep going. Judgment Day. Why is this day? Remember we said that this is called the Day of Atonement. It's also called Judgment Day. Well, think about it. The year ends there, Virgo is the harvest, there's no more food. Winter. The day. Morning, afternoon, bang, sunset. Judgment of the sun. Dead. It's gone. It's dark. That's judgment for the sun. Of course, 6 p.m. or that date there, yearly, is Judgment Day. Try and put Judgment Day anywhere else. Just try and do it. Select any other of the 365 days for Judgment Day. And guess what? You don't got to watch the works. Can't do it. You cannot do it. So, because I'm always mindful of the criticising of syncretism. Oh, Santos, you made that up, that word. No, just paid attention. You didn't. You know, didn't pay attention at all. You were off with the drunkards and the prostitutes. I was paying attention. So it's there. I didn't make it up. You know, I didn't say, gee, I'm going to start the Jewish religion and I'm going to make sure that day there is going to be called Judgment Day. And I'll make it work and teach it to the world. There it is. Libra. Judgment. The scales of judgment. It's the halfway along every sine wave. It has been balanced. Venus, the ruler of Libra. She's always there. Demeter. Judging. Rosh Hashanah, Anna is annual. Rosh is the head. That's why they blow the Aries ram time as well. There's the two candles, the equinoxes, Aries and Libra, Rama and Sakoth. And the Jews left from Rama and went to Sakoth. They go from Ram, Aries, to Libra every year. Yom Kippur, autumnal equinox, prayer service. It's all about the ecliptic, guys. These people are blindly following the ecliptic. They've got no idea. Why do the Jews celebrate the Festival of Tabernacles here, the Festival of Tents, or booths? Well, because here it's the summer. You can stay out and sleep under the trees. You can sleep anywhere. You know. Here it's starting to rain. It's wet. You need a tent. So for a week, you celebrate the Festival of Booths, in your little booth, your little tabernacle, and you symbolise to God that you know where the ecliptic is and you know what's going on. It's the wintry months are coming on. Now we're going to sit in a tent for 6 months. It's symbolical. It's all symbolic. Yom Kippur. Yom is on, by the way. Yom. Pay attention. Day of At-One-ment. Equinox, they've got no idea. Mabon, bonacci. Bon means good. Ma-bon, the mother of good. There she is. Ma-bon. What have we got here? Pope Francis is, oh yeah, this is interesting. Yeah, on the 23rd of September, I remember that day. I was in jail in 2015, and I remember that the Pope was in this Jesuit, the most famous Jesuit American building, the National Shrine, Basilica of the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception, and Pope Francis came, Jesuit, on the 23rd of September, guys, Judgment Day in Libra at that time, and canonised this murderer. You Californians will know about this murderer. I've seen streets to him in San Francisco, Unibero, right? Franciscans. 9 Spanish missions in California to do what? To murder, to pillage, and to plunder, as the Jesuits love to do. Servants of evil. Mabon. Michaelmas Day. Michael is the sun. Michael is Saint Michael, the sun. It's an archangel. Corresponds with the rising of the sign Hercules. There you go, Michael is Hercules. Hercules turns up when? Yeah, around Virgo, around Libra. Michaelmas Day. You'll have to read that yourself, guys. Oh, that's a beautiful one too. Wow. That you must not eat blackberries after the 29th of September. Michaelmas Day. Why? Because that's when they end. But you'll have to read all this. I put it in here, I don't have time right now. So you may see all these dates being cited, but why the prohibition against blackberries after Michaelmas Day? Well, after September 30, it is said the blackberries may be inedible, poisonous, or even worse. Bad luck and evil may befall you if you eat them on or late this date of the season. Anyway, read up on that. St. Bacchus Day, ooh, 7th of October. There you go. That's Libra. Bacchus, the god of wine. What happens in Libra? What's happening right now? What just happened in the last month? See all the wineries? They just made wine. Bacchus is the god of wine. Of course, October 7th, or Libra. The Virgo, the month before, is the bread. Libra is the wine. That's why Jesus at the Last Supper is supplying what? Bread and wine to his 12 disciples, because it's the sun at the autumnal equinox. Here, telling you bread and wine, bread and wine. It's the Last Supper. Why is it the Last Supper? Harvest, harvest, eat, 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 eat. No more food. You have to hunt. Hence, the full moon of Virgo is the harvest moon. The full moon of Libra is the moon. Turns up all there. It all turns up. St. Bacchus, again, Diwali, same festival, Diwali of the Hindus. Festival of lights every year in autumn in the Northern Hemisphere. spring in the Southern Hemisphere. It is an official holiday in Fiji, Guyana, India, etc. Here we are, All Saints Day, the 2nd. Any idea why? Because there, remember Noah's flood. This is the flood. These are water signs, basically. This is called the flood. Pisces, Aquarius is water, Capricorn is a water fish, goat fish, so it also is water. Starting from water of Scorpio on All Saints Day, there is 5 months of Noah in his ark before he lands on Mount Ararat in Aries. And this is the flood of Noah starting here. And who dies? Well, all the baddies outside of the ark, they all die. It's the Day of the Dead. Let's go to Mexico. Halloween, dead, everything's dead. Why did something die there? Because that's where it all dies, in Scorpio. Look at the trees, they're all dead. They're dying. They've been smitten by Scorpio. The leaves are all just falling off the tree, off the trees. Death, Samhain, Celtic. There it is, the Day of the Dead in Mexico. Why all the colours? Day of the Dead. Are you feeling pretty dead? It's the Day of the Dead. Ooh. The disappearance of Osiris. Again, Osiris gets disappeared in the water, gets chopped up. It's Noah's flood. Noah's flood. There's Noah's Ark. See, the rainbow has 7 colours. Noah's Ark is the rainbow, and the 7 other people in the Ark, the rainbow of Noah. 7. So that's it. It's the iceberg wheel. It's the rainbow. It's fun when you know what you're doing. Saturnalia starts on the 17th of December because what? Capricorn's coming. Of course we're going to Saturnise the world. Satanise it in Capricorn and have festivities and licentious behaviour and all sorts of things. Saturnalia, Christmas. Christmas Day. Burumalia, that's another name. Burum, Saturn. Happy Saturnalia. The Romans love their Saturnalia because the Latins always believed that they came from Saturn. We Latins are from Saturn. Thank you, Virgil. What have we got here? Oh man, I wish I could spend hours on each page here, guys. I poured blood and sweat into these presentations and they haven't even seen the light of day. The day of circumcision, January 1st. So, the sun is born on the 25th. The Jews say wait 8 days before you circumcise your child. Okay, so from the 25th to the 1st of January is 8 days. Snip the old year off, circumcise it, and of course January the 1st is the day of circumcision, 8 days after when the sun is born, the 25th. Epiphany on the 6th of January. Why? Because the Egyptians said that the sun appears again in January as it starts from Capricorn, still in Capricorn, but removed by 12 degrees from the 25th of December, 12 days, and Jesus was 12 years old when he was seen in the temple, the Epiphany, always on January the 6th, because now the sun is seen to be removed from that horrible solstice of the 21st of December, that much so that it now appears again. And what the sun has to do is, it's born here, comes into Aquarius where it is baptized, and Aquarius used to be called baptismo. And then it comes to February, which means to purify. So the sun is being purified as it goes through February, purification. Baptism, Aquarius. Purification, February. Lent, 40 days of Lent within here. Lent is short for lengthening, because the sun is lengthening its rays And where does a Lent stop? In Aries, every year, because then that lengthening has finished. Now it's resurrected. In the Passover, Lamb of Aries, Passover. The Israelites come out of Egypt, through the Red Sea, Nisan 17, they're in the Promised Land. That's the Promised Land, that's Egypt. That's the Paradise, that's the Red Sea. Everything turns red in August. The Red Sea, and the sun is in the going through. This is the wilderness. The night time, the winter, it's the wilderness. Epiphany, everywhere, Malta, everywhere, everybody's looking at the sun. It's born again. The Epiphany, it has appeared. Serbia, all the fires, Epiphany in Austria. Oh, let us go. Conversion of St. Paul on the 25th of January. Well, Paul becomes Saul, persecuting the Christians, becomes Paul on the 25th of January. Well, it's easy. Saturn is called Sol in Capricorn. On the 25th, when it transitions into its other sign, Aquarius, it becomes Paul, Apollo, the god of February. Saul, Paul. He converts from Saul to St. Paul, Apollo. There you go, the 2nd of February, cross-quarter day. And these are all the herbs in the winter that are sacrificed in rituals to the god. There's the goddess Nut. They devoted the same to the goddess Nut in Egypt. February. Purification of the Virgin. Remember, February means what? Purification. The 2nd of February is called the day of purification. So you can't make this up. Because here the sun now has been baptized, purified, lengthens, passes over, gets the Torah, goes up to Jerusalem, gets betrayed, gets, this is the Garden of Gethsemane, Sagittarius, he gets betrayed here, Judas betrays him in Scorpio, betrays the sun, he bites him with his backbiting tail, and is the Garden of Gethsemane, bang, Satan, the ruler of Capricorn, takes him away. It's all on the ecliptic. All the stories are on the ecliptic. Go to the Gospel of the Stars and you will understand all things. Purification of the Virgin. Ratha, Saptami, the Sanskrit version, the Indian version, same day. Mardi Gras, Fat Tuesday, always in March. Tuesday is Tyr, Mars. Ash Wednesday in Lent. Yes, because the ashes of the burned year, and now from the ashes comes a new year with the lengthening of the sun, and all of this is solar symbology there. The cross of the sun, there it is, the equinoxes and the solstices. The sun is blessing you. Come to the sun for salvation. Ash Wednesday. See that ash? Why do the Hindus put all these ash marks and the Hare Krishnas and put all their things on there? Because it's resurrection. February, again, Lupa. This is the wolf that brings forth the new year. Romulus and Remus, the two parts of the year. It's always twins. The waxing and the waning. It's always twins. Romulus means ram. And you see where the lamb is also the canine. Aries is the sign of the canine as well as the ovine. They are not just the lamb. Where is the lamb? Is the wolf. So if you're looking for the canine archetype, Aries in Libra. Alright, let's get through this. There's the Festival of the Wolf. St. Valentine's, 14th in Aquarius. Valentine is Aquarius, folks. That's why it's always there. The romance, the day of romance. Why? Because in Aquarius, friendship, the 11th house. Let's make friends, and now a new year's coming. St. Patrick's Day, green, Osiris was green, it's the day of Osiris. Osiris, the 17th of March. And all your Irish people, they love, in Melbourne, where I grew up, oh boy, they put on their green and 17th of March, just 5 days before my birthday, year in, year out, the Irish people getting drunk and enjoying Osiris, the green god of vegetation, because of the spring coming. St. Patrick's Day, March 17. Father's Day, March 18. And we've come to the end. Now, just quickly, what's the time like, guys? Can I get some feedback?
2:19.
Oh, we're doing real good. Let me put this away. Back you go. Oh yeah, save it. Don't know what I've done to save it. Alright, let's just go here a little bit, guys. Okay. So remember the Argus. Argus is always on top. Ursa Major, the Big Dipper. Spring, summer, autumn, winter. You watch it like a clock. The Big Dipper, that's Ursa Major. Ursa Minor, Argus, Noah's Ark. Remember Noah's Ark story? The ark was full of 2 of every animal. Okay. Here we have 2 twins, Gemini. We have 2 deacons, Canis Major, Canis Minor, 2 dogs. Here we have Ursa Major, Ursa Minor, 2 wolves. Here we have Asinellus australis, Asinellus borealis. The southern donkey, the northern donkey, 2 twins. Leo, we have Leo and Leo Minor, 2 twins, 2 lions, 2 donkeys, 2 bears, 2 dogs, 2 twins, Argus, Noah's Ark, the waters above, the sea of Noah. And lo and behold, what are the 2 birds that Noah sent out from his ark? What are the 2 birds?
Crow and pigeon.
The crow, good one. And the other one?
Dove.
The dove. What's the other name for dove? We all know it, especially in this country.
Columba.
Where are we? Oh man, now that it's all up there.
Right next to Cupid.
Well, there's the dove, there's the crow, okay? There's the boat of Noah in Cancer. Argus, the deacon of Cancer. There's Corvus. And in Gemini we will find...
Just below there.
There it is. The dove. The crow. The only... Well, we've got other birds here too. We've got... what have we got? Aquila, the eagle. Sagittarius, the arrow. We have got another bird. We've got Pegasus, the flying horse. In Aquarius, there he is. Cygnus, the swan. That's the heart. So we've got the swan, and that's where Vega is. Flying horse. Arrow of Sagittarius. Sagittarius. The dove. Sorry, the dove. And the crow. It's all there. All the twins are there. All the 2 animals, because they knew, the ancients knew, well, here comes Noah's Ark. And there's Canis Major and Canis Minor, there's the twins, there's Ursa Major, Ursa Minor, little donkey, big donkey, southern donkey, northern donkey, small Leo, big Leo, and there's the dove, Columba, and there's the deacon of Leo, the crow, Corpus, deacon of Leo, deacon, southern deacon of Leo. Okay. Crater, that's the Holy Grail, the crater, the cup in Leo. And Hydra, the other, these are the 3 deacons of Leo. Alright, so, what else do I want to show from here? We're going to do question and answers, by the way. So, is that about it? Yeah, this is where I'm headed. Alright, this is a very important page, guys. When you study astrology, you get sidetracked and befuddled and hoodwinked by a lot of charlatans. For instance, you'll hear them saying, oh, Libra was introduced by the Greeks, it didn't exist before the Greeks. Or maybe they should pay for a ticket to the Louvre Museum and have a look at this Dendera stone, which was ripped from the Egyptians, which they say, they tell you, is 5,000 years old minimum. And they tell you that the Greeks added Libra 2,000 years ago when the Hellenics were, you know, kicking around and changing the world and influencing the world, and so they decided to stick Libra in the world. Well, there's the scales of Libra, right there, all the green signs: Aries, Taurus, the twins, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, fish goat, Aquarius, two fish, and the band tying them up. It's all there. It's all the way I do it. Everything starts here. There it is. Aries, Taurus, Gemini. These red ones, these are the exalting planets. So let's have a look for Mars. We will find Mars is exalting in... So what you've got is you've got the 12 zodiac signs, and then all around are the 36 deacons. Okay, so what I want you to pay attention to, we won't learn all this and master it today, but have a look at that. You can find this in Google Images anywhere. The Dendera stone, 48 of the original constellations, exactly the same as they were thousands of years ago. It's exactly the same today. Those deacons are exactly the same today. Mars, the Sun. Let's see, where is the Sun? Aries, Taurus, Gemini. Okay, so we're looking for the Sun exalting. No, we'll only find the 5 planets. See these red ones? There's Venus. Venus exalting in Pisces. Venus, there she is. Mars exalts in Capricorn. Saturn exalts in Libra. Mercury, Buddha, exalts in Virgo. Jupiter exalts in Cancer. So there you have the 5 exalting planets and the 12 zodiacal signs in the Dendera stone, which the indigenous wisdom keepers of Egypt tell you is at least 70,000 years old. On the other hand, the Neoplatonists wrote that the Egyptians have 480,000 years of astrological records. 400, that's 500,000 years of records in Egypt. There's your evidence, friends, that this is archetypal from the heavens. No one added anything. The Greeks didn't add squat diddly doo to anything. Diddly squat. I think that's the right way of saying it. What diddly? Diddly squat. Which way is it?
All right.
Which one?
You got to read
Which one?
Diddly squat, yeah.
Huh? Diddly squat.
Diddly squat, yeah.
It's getting long in the day, I'm tired. But let's have a look now. Notice this triangle. That's a little triangle in Aries, one of the deacons of Aries, sometimes interchanged with Cassiopeia. Okay? That's a triangle in Aries. Triangulum is up here. The Babylonians say that the top star is called Anu, Anunnaki. This one's called Aya, which turns into Yah, Jehovah, Jupiter. And this one is Enlil, which turns out to be Saturn, El. So already in this constellation, beginning in Aries, we have the beginning of the story of the Godhead. Inside Triangulum, there are 29 faint stars, which are called the Tree of Life. In Triangulum. That's the Trinity in Aries in the head, and the Tree of Life is in the head. Those 29 faint stars represent the 27 numbers. The 27 numbers of all alphabets. 27 is the golden number. 9. It's 3 9s. Rubik's Cube. Seen the Rubik's Cube? 27 cubes. Macrobius said that that is the cube of creation. That's why the Kaaba is so important to Kabbalah and Islam. That's the Rubik's Cube. Okay, that's the cube in counter space, which is a masculine cube based on 3. Equals 9, and then equals 27. All alphabets, even English, which has 27, originally 27 letters. The ampersand was removed, reduced to 26 letters. Then the feminine is based on 2, Eve, even. 2, that's masculine. 3 is, the Trinity is a masculine number. 2 is feminine. All even numbers, Eve. All odd, Adam, Odom, numbers are masculine. So what you have now, and thank you Walter Russell, is cubes in counter space. That's why the cube is such an important form, because it's counter-spatial. Spheres are spatial. And there's always bodies inside those cubes. Surrounding your body are these 2 cubes, the 2 and the 3 cube. It's surrounding your body. It's positioning your body. It's like the GPS of your body. I'm walking around inside a cube, even though my torso, torus, is spherical. It's a cube in counter space. Like that information on the screen is in counter space, but you can move it, move the computer over here. The information goes with it, doesn't it? I just moved it. So if I do this, my cube is coming with me. It's a cube in counter space. So cubes are masculine and counterspatial. Spheres are feminine and spatial. All right, let me see if I've exhausted all this. Cygnus, there's Cygnus and Swan, Perseus in Aries, they're all there. If you've been studying astrology, you will see on this very most ancient and holy stone, the Dendera stone, you'll see everything was there originally and still is today, faithfully and loyally, because this is the gospel of the stars that the Egyptians were trying to share with us and teach us. To learn this. If you learn this, you will understand all cycles, circles, causes, effects, theologies, everything. This is in your mind. It's in your DNA. This is the maker of DNA. All of these patterns, all of these frequencies, they will never change. It will never change. It will always be like this. It's up to us to discover how this all happens and takes place. And I think that's about it. I mean, yeah, it's good. Oh, there's a lot more here. I'm going to spend hours on this, on that, because I like to show people directly the truth that illuminates all the lies that people try to make to discredit our science and to make us look stupid. When astrologers make a prognostication, which I've done many times, I do a transit and someone's asking me, well, when is it a good time to open a business or something? So I look at the transit, I go forward a month, I go forward a couple of months, and I look for the best transiting positions, and I tell them, this is a good one, this is a good time. January is a good time for you to start your business, right? Or, I might be able to look into the stars and the configurations to give them some indication of what may happen. But you know how many variables are in that? And that's not to say that, astrology is faulty because, you got their prediction wrong. No. If a doctor you know, saves in heart surgery, saves someone in this operation, then goes to another one, and that one dies, is that necessarily his fault? Right? Well, it could be. It could be malpractice. He could have killed that person. But is the system that he learned to do a successful operation, do all of his medicine properly, is that at fault, or is it he? If a mechanic, if you go to a mechanic and he can't fix your car, well, you don't pay him, right? This is why in the Bible astrologers are condemned. Because they give a bad name to astrology. Because of why? Because their lack of knowledge. And we've all been handicapped. Because the system has absolutely gone after this information to hide it, persecute it, decry it, denounce it, ridicule it, and destroy it. But if we had all the records of the Egyptians and the Babylonians, of all the degrees, minutes, and seconds of arc, and how every single, not only, you might be making a prognostication on the 13th degree of Capricorn, and you might, the 13th degree might be recorded in historical records as a degree of, let's say, accidents. So you're going to say, oh, well, you're going to have an accident because the moon will be on the 13th degree of Capricorn. But this is what they said. They said, it's not in the degrees where all the information is, even though there's so much. It's in the minutes and the seconds. Because every minute, see, the 13th degree might mean overarchingly accidents, but let's say the 13th degree and the 29th minute and the 13th second, that absolutely is, you know, like an energy of great, great success within a degree of badness. You know what I'm saying is that each sign has their good and their bad. But let's say Aries, for instance, some degrees are really, really Aryan and some are less Aryan, less hot in fire. And then each 30th degrees has 60 minutes, and each 60-minute degree has 60 seconds, and every separate second was recorded to have a different meaning and a different result, and we've lost that information. So what I propose is that we just get police records, hospital records, and all of these records of the computers, put them all in a database, punch all the figures in, and then put the astrological wheel over the top and the transits, and we will see how it all works. And this is why police tell you, oh, we're always busy on full moon. Yep, full moon, they've got to have extra police on duty. They're telling you, and yet they laugh at astrology. Oh, you're an astrologer? And then they're drinking beer with their mates saying, oh yeah, the full moon is always bringing out the loonies and we're always, having accidents. The hospitals, they're all more busy, more accidents, more bloodshedding. Full moon, every month. And they denounce astrology on the one hand, but they tell you in their data and in their... They tell you they're doing you a favour and staying ignorant at the same time because they're not giving the due respect to astrology. So we can reverse engineer it all. Yes, the Romans destroyed it, burned the Alexandrian libraries, and came here and decapitated the Mayans and the Aztecs and the Incas and their culture. And supposedly now we have the Popol Vuh, only 4 codexes that have survived, and all of this trying to put together back all this indigenous wisdom. Many books have been written, and all of this desecration of indigenous people's wisdom. We can reverse engineer it. We've got all the computers now, we can put all the data in, and what we will do is one thing and only one thing. Once we get all the data in all the computers, we will absolutely, comprehensively validate astrology as the mother of all sciences and the only way to know all things, the Word of God. I propose that because I know there are a lot of people watching this and oh, astrology, even the philosophers decried astrology as being invalid and useless. Many of the great philosophers, yeah, the materialist ones. But not the ones who know. And so the aim of all this, friends, what do we do today? Well, we've basically given glory and acknowledgement to the holy science, the science of light, which is astrology, and the ecliptic, and learning the ecliptic and knowing it. There's much, much more information that can go on there. In fact, every presentation I've ever done has gems, unique gems unto itself that you will not find unless you click on that presentation. Because many people think, oh yeah, I'll click on Santos's, yeah, that's his biggest, most viewed one. I'll click on that and I'll get to know everything about syncretism. Forget it. You need about 10 years of watching every single presentation that I've done, probably 10 to 20 times each. Really. Really. Because then you make it your own. I've been doing this all my life, there's nothing else I do. I don't go hang gliding, I don't go swimming, I don't go climbing mountains. I do syncretism all day long. It's my meditation. Have done since I was a little kid. Etymology, language, music, I haven't done anything different. Never will, and don't need to. So I've followed my calling, which is Rahu in the 12th house, to be awakened, to be illuminated, to be enlightened. I've just been doing it naturally. So that's about it, guys. We can do some question and answers. How much time do we have? So shoot away. Emma.
I heard you speak about 7 layers of interpretation in the gospel, including anagogic, symbolic. I just want to know, what were all the 7 layers? What does anagogic mean?
I could have actually addressed that today, guys. There are minimum 7 layers of interpretation, thank you, Mandy People, to make something a sacred text. There has to be 7 levels. You can't just have, you know, like 2 levels, like when you're talking to your husband or your wife and you're saying, oh, let's talk about the birds and the bees, shall we? And the kids are listening. Well, they understand it one way, you understand it totally a different way. Right? But that's 2 levels of interpretation. There must be 7. And these are the ingredients for a gospel. Always these will be underlying every nursery rhyme and every gospel. Always. There will always be an astrological, there will always be astrotheological, there will always be alchemy. Oops. Alchemy. Then literal is always there, usually, not always, at the bottom, always at the bottom, the foundation. Always at the top is astrological. It's the mother of all sciences, everything proceeds from here, okay? Astrotheology, alchemy, biology. I can write very, very nicely actually when I'm concentrating, but in all my presentations it's all sloppy and messy. But yeah, I can. Usually my writing is horrible if I don't use it, but it's, Biology. So I can put anything here, gematria. I can choose any of the hundreds of levels, you know, but I'm just going to pick gematria. I could put numerology in there, but it's in gematria. Sacred geometry, which is basically gematria. The world is made with numbers and letters. Numbers are quantities, letters are qualities. All is atom. Atom is the noise that is made by, remember that ether drum? Silence. Tum is the wave. Is the wave. Tum is the percussion. So that's what atoms do. And they manifest a vibration of reality through that sound. All is atom. It has to be. So, sacred geometry, it's numbers, quantities, and letters, qualities. So there's 7 levels. I can do, what else can we do? Anagogic, right? Anagogic. Ana, remember, is fire. Gogic. Gogic means mystical, the highest possible, utmost level of interpretation. Below that is spiritual, allegory. So the Jews, they have an acronym, and it's the same word as paradise. P-R-D and S, paradise. So they give you paradise. That's sod. But there's 4 levels. This is literal. This is I'm embarrassing myself now. I used to do this all. I've done this in a lot of presentations actually. The 4 letters for the word paradise are the 4 levels of initiation of the Jews. Sod they teach to men at minimum 42 years of age, because otherwise they say they will go insane. This is the literal. Pradesh, that's it. Pradesh. Pradesh. Resh. No, it can't be Resh. Drash. Pradesh. And Sod. Anyway, it goes from literal to anagogic. That's anagogic. This is allegoric here, and this is geez, you'll find it in a few of my presentations, but those are the 4 levels. Okay, so we want to get to anagogic, sud, maturity. They teach this at 12 years old. They teach little children that Santa Claus is not literal, Jesus is not literal, Pradesh is literal. They begin with, Santa Claus stories. Pradesh, then they go to this allegory. They step it up at 12 years of age. This is in the 30s, this is after 40. I think a man has to be a minimum 42 or 49 to learn Sud, anagogy. But it's all there. This is only 7 of many fields of wisdom. In Strong's Concordance, it says that when Jesus is on the circuit of Galilee, right there in Strong's Concordance, thank you Christianity, it says it is the ecliptic of the zodiac of the Greeks. Right there. You don't need any more. It tells you that Jesus on the circuit of Galilee is the ecliptic. I'll tell you, you just have to look. All right, do that again.
The authorship of the Bible, where would you say that originated from, or how they put it together?
Okay. You're probably also having in mind Joseph Atwill, who has done a lot of research into the Flavian Jesus. Then there's Francesco Carlotta, an Italian multilingual researcher who has discovered the Julian Jesus. Julius Caesar, JC, is Jesus Christ. He points out that the Julians did this, the Flavians 80 years later. So you've got the Julio-Claudian Empire, that was destroyed by Vespasian, who killed Vitellius. Then they did this other Jesus that Joseph Atwill clearly points out that they did. They redacted the Gospels, as all empires do, and make it look like the hero Jesus was born in their time, which he didn't. It's timeless. It's all timeless. They just steal the mythologies and redact them and make them look like, oh, Jesus was born in the time of the Romans and the Romans killed him. It's not even literal. It's a Humpty Dumpty story. But it has wisdom in it, which is endless and timeless. So, Joseph Atwill, Francesco Carlotta, and many other writers, they're all right. They're correct. That the Flavians did it, and the Julians did it. But that's not where it begins, nor where it ends. The Gospels are timeless. Period. You can prove that by reading Bhagavad Gita, Ramayana, Mahabharata. All of them have exactly the same story. It's all the same story. Same. Everywhere you go, always the same story. Therefore, it is the same story. That's astrological. So, Francesco Carotta points out that both JC Julius Caesar have a calendar. It's called the Julio-Gregorian calendar, and it's also called the Anno Domini calendar, which refers to his counterpart, Jesus Christ, the year of the Lord. So he goes, duh, that's a no-brainer. They've actually got, they call it the Julian calendar, JC, and then they actually call it Anno Domini, going back to JC, his other non-fictional counterpart. Both die on the Ides of March. One gets betrayed by Brutus, one by Judas. One passes the Rubicon, one passes the Jordan. One goes to Capernaum, one goes to Capernaum. And you see that Julius Caesar is the popular hero of the time, just like Jesus is the popular hero of the time, and it's neither of them necessarily are historical people. They're not even... Okay, I'll go as far as to say as Julius Caesar is not necessarily historical. Think about that. I'm not going to go and say he's not, but you think about that, because history repeats every 1,000 years. That's what it says in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is making history repeat every 1,000 years. And when you read Ecclesiastes in the Bible, it says, as 1,000 years are to man, is one day to the Lord. This 1,000-year repetition, JC, always starts at the beginning of every 1,000-year cycle. Julius Caesar, Jesus Christ, Hercules. Before that it was Osiris. Before that it was... Every 1,000 years, the same pattern happens. In fact, it's every 1,008 years. That's the true repetitive cycle now. Every 1,008 years, history absolutely, exactly repeats with different variables. There's other ways I can show you that history is a 1,000-year thing. Look at the work of Anatoly Fomenko. I've got his books at home about the 1,000 years that are missing here and what have you. By reading him, I worked out that, and Bhagavad Gita and many other scriptures, that it's a repetitive pattern of 1,000 years, and it's 1,008 years, which is based on Uranus' cycle. 1,008 years, it does 12 revolutions. So if you keep that in mind, I won't go any further with that. You'll find this material in my presentations, how I've spoken this about also. That once you work out that it's repeating, there's always a new cycle which starts with the JC archetype, and then all the other things repeat. They repeat, history repeats, with different variables, but same old thing. That's why Julian said I was Alexander the Great. The greatest emperor of Rome, Julian, my favourite Neoplatonist, he said, I am the incarnation of Alexander the Great. He wasn't joking. He wasn't mucking around, because that's how it works. Yep. Every 1,000 years. All right. Yep. David.
Yeah, I have a few questions, but I'll stick to one right now. I don't think I've heard you talk too much about, you were speaking about some of the problems that individual astrologers have with getting people's chart right in certain instances. How much do you think free will is playing into that versus the energy?
So, charts have many variables and ways of looking at it and interpretation. So one astrologer says, oh, your Mars is in Capricorn, this means you're going to be do-do-do-do. The other one says, no, it's going to mean this, that, and the other, right? Yeah. Is that the fault of astrology, or is it the fault of the astrologer that there's so much discord? The astrologer, not astrology. Because we only have the fragments of this great science. It has been persecuted to no end by the Jesuits, to no end. You will realise one day when you realise how extensive the destruction of Tartaria was, how they went after this science, the science of magnetism. And, you know, how to interpret every degree, minute and second, and it was all catalogued and tabulated information for every degree. You could work out things to the T.
So you think you can predict pretty much
Anything and everything, to the very, very detail. Absolutely. Astrology does this. Yeah. So when I'm looking forward to something, for instance, the incident that happened to me where on the 13th of this month, full moon in Aries, I knew that that was going to bring something hectic. And I was staying at the place of an Arian woman, and Mari was there, she's Arian. So it's a full moon in Aries. And Molly, who's Arian, was receiving text from a very obsessed ex-boyfriend from years ago, telling her that he's going to murder her and me and her dog with a baseball bat and a knife, and turned up on the 13th of this month with a baseball bat and a knife. And so Mars was in Libra. All you astrologers know that Libra is the 7th sign, which corresponds to the 7th house, which is about partners. Mars hates Libra because Mars is in detriment in Libra. Whenever Mars is in Libra in anyone's charts, their kidneys run hot. And so their judgment process is put out of balance because Mars throws the scales out of balance because it's in there. Mars is hectic and erratic. And I've seen it in the charts of many people who have Mars in Libra. The problems they have in their relationships, the friction, the high burning energy, the action, the aggressiveness. Well, that was in general. Think about it. Have you spoken to some of your friends? Have you noticed how many married partnerships are struggling? I'm struggling with my boyfriend, my girlfriend, right? That was the general energy of Mars in Libra on the 13th. So here comes this guy, he knocks on the door, she opens the door, baseball bat starts swinging. And that's Mars in Libra. Accidents, cuts, injuries. At the time, the moon was transiting my 8th house. The house of death, accidents, injuries, surgery. Anyway, to make the story short, because I did tell you about this earlier on, unfortunately, he got himself killed. And that's the sort of thing that Mars in Libra will do. Your actions will be impaired. You see, so when you see these energies, you can't exactly know what's going to happen. I could have got cut up more, right? A lot less. It could have gone many different ways, but the general condition was that Mars in Libra will bring bad judgment, erratic behaviour in partnerships and breakups of marriages, etc. Has to, because that's how astrology works, and it's doing it, and it did do that. But then the other things will bring other variables. That's the general tone of what's coming for that period, of that transit. But then all the other degrees and all the other planets playing part of this theatre, changing the dynamics of the theatre, they all come into play as well. So in another timeline, that event could have happened again. I could have been cut up and sliced to pieces, and his the other person could have been hospitalised or something like that, or any other variable. But in this timeline, all of those degrees, if we had all the information, we would see that it was happened and orchestrated and choreographed exactly to the planets. Exactly to the planets. I wish I could share with you some of the examples that I have that I've done transits for people who've gone back years, gone forward, and seen what I've seen in my experience. I wish I could just share that with you. Just download it onto you, and then you'll be really understanding what I'm saying. It's all absolutely orchestrated to the very last, even to the breath you take. It's all there. Sorry, free will? Well, this is where, you know the variables? That's where you influence the gods. The wise man rules his stars. The ignorant man is ruled by his stars. You get to rule the stars. When you see these things coming, you can affect a change into it. How? By your consciousness. Because instead of the event happening 3 seconds later on the degree of death, you initiated it earlier because you were aware and you escaped death. You see, you do have the power of free will. It's been given to you, but many people do not use it. They're slaves. They think jail is a building. It's a condition. When I was in jail, I didn't think I was in jail. I was free. I said to people, there's people outside of jail that are more in jail than me inside of jail with bars. They've made their own jail for them. Everyone's in jail. They're all bound by their passions and lusts and addictions and desires, and they're all lost. Signing up for more cycles of necessity. Licentiousness, polyamory, promiscuity, pornography, lust, alcoholism, addictions, and they go round and round, and they're just signing up for more pain, which is the other side of pleasure. So, getting back to my story, I'd like to help also explain that what happened 3 weeks ago was angelic deliverance. I saw the hand of extra-dimensional entities helping me to survive. And that is how it transpired. I know that. It wasn't me. This guy's 6'2", 5'7". He had weapons, I didn't. He was premeditated. I just knew about it the moment I was about to run out the door and I heard Molly screaming, "Help!" and I ran back. But what did I bring to the table? So some people say, "Oh, that was heroic of you, Santos." Anyone who has love in their heart and who's integrated would do the same thing. But the result may be different. Why did I succeed? Well, I give the glory to the angels, but they won't be there to protect you if you're not integrated and you're not inviting them into your life and you're not holy. So what did I do? Well, I brought my integrity. I brought my strength. I've been teaching that the true diet which makes you spiritual and strong is abstinence from animals. I've been teaching that ejaculatory sex will make you weak. Just ask any coach who tells his fighter, "Don't you have sex for a week if you want to win that fight." And he'll tell his team, "Stay away from your ladies for a week and you want to win the cup." Sex will debilitate you and make you weak in the knees because you're sacrilegiously desecrating your own temple. Every ejaculation you have is smashing and destroying your life force and creating wormholes to demons. Sorry to have to tell you, but that's how it works. So I brought that. I always say, ejaculators lose and non-ejaculators always win because they keep their strength. I'm keeping my minerals for me. I ain't going to give it to nobody. No one gets it. No one gets my DNA unless they're perfectly clean. See these polyamorous people? Oh, they go to party and take someone home, etc. Well, not only are you getting all of their demons, hormones, parasites, blood, all of their ancestral diseases and programming in it, like a computer that you buy a new computer and it's free of viruses and it works well. As soon as a virus hits it, it slows down. It doesn't function properly. Not only are you getting all of theirs, but you are now donating your DNA to all your polyamorous people. What are they going to do with your soul? You might be drunk one night and you bring home someone. You know how guys say, "Oh boy," something about a brown paper bag, right? When they're drunk, they don't need it. Well, because you bring anything home, right? And sometimes it's an unwanted pregnancy, it's a disease, or it's heartache, or you wake up, right? But you've just given them permission to go and do whatever they want with your soul. It's in your saliva. You don't, even when you kiss someone. This is why it's very important to be careful who you interact with. Even just like this is sexual. Sorry to say, brother, but I'm having sex with your Taurus field. It has to be. Yeah. It's radiating. We're radiating together. And do I like you? Yeah, I do. It feels good. I feel good with you people. Right? But it's not sexual as in physical and that kind of sex. It's transcendental sex. You know, it's that energy of goodness. Sex is beautiful. It makes you strong. You don't feel weak when you're aroused, do you? You feel like sexually aroused. Oh, I hate this feeling. No, it inspires you to do something with it. What do you do? What do you do? Careful. Because in every minute and every second, you are losing your soul or gaining it. It's very important. So that's what I brought. I brought integrity. And, well, fast speed as well. I'm very fast, you know. And that would have, like when I opened the door, the guy Molly was on her knees. He was about to take the third hit on the head. And then he looks around, there I am. And I was just quick, I grabbed the baseball. And, you know, then he held me to the couch, pulled out a knife, cut my hand. There's the wounds. I've got 3 little cuts. That one, and that one. Right, that's it. And it was all a blur. It lasted for about 10 minutes. And I tell you, I cannot remember every detail, neither can Molly. And yet he bled to death within 10 minutes. We called the police, they came. It was all clear cut and dry. They saw what happened. They saw the texts, I'm going to murder Santos, your lover. I even told him, I said, Stephen, you've gone too far already. He was on top of me trying to knife me to death. You're going to jail already. Stop now. There's nothing between us. Yeah? Die for nothing. Because this is what happens when you're obsessive and you don't let people live their life. And so I've seen angelic protection in my life many times. When I was a teenager, I was running a restaurant and a balaclava-clad, knife-wielding man came in. I was playing Dream Lover by Little River Band. Dream Lover. And in comes this friggin', not a dream lover, but this guy who's saying, give me all your money. I was managing a roadhouse. I was 18 or 19, managing a roadhouse, and I saw angelic direction. I was going to be cut up that day, and then I said, all right, oh, no worries. No, I'll put the guitar down. I'll put it over here near the heater. There's the money, and I'm going to the door, and something just lifted me, just pulled me away, and I grabbed that door, ran towards the police station, and was delivered. You know, that's when I was young. I saw that, but this one that happened 3 weeks ago, it's on another level altogether. On another level altogether, and here I am. Mari saw it. She was outside sleeping in the van. She called the police. She's Aryan as well. And I saw it. And you're seeing it. You know? And I can say that those beings are there to protect you. You just have to acknowledge them and invite them into your life. Yeah, so that's the only reason I'm sharing it, because I've been speaking about it all my life, and we have to know that it is real. Life is serious. We are creating a light body with beauty and wisdom and growing. Yeah, I can see it here. It's happening. The more conscious we are, the more we emanate light. Have you noticed that? So someone who's dull and not very conscious, there's not much inspiration there. It's like this flow is depressing. Move on. Right? But this is creating a light body, and it's what we do. Alright, any more questions?
Is there a symbolic or functional significance of removing the ampersand from the alphabet?
Can you repeat the question?
We can't hear.
Why did they remove the ampersand from the English language? Oh, yeah, but anyway, the little and sign, sometimes they do it like that, yeah? And, but I think it's like, anyway, the ampersand, yeah, to make one number less than the perfection, the number of perfection, which is 27 on the Rubik's Cube. But then again, that's not a good way to explain that, because the number of 26 is valid as well. 26 is the half of 52. There are 52 cards in the deck, 52 weeks of the year. So again, it all goes back to the Yaram. So 26 is valid as well. 29 of the Jews, the Hebrew, extensive Hebrew alphabet. 22 is the normal Hebrew, but then they've got another one which is 29. And remember, yeah, there's many other 29s, and in numerology, and they're all significant. It's too elaborate to be able to, explain that properly. But remember one thing: just validate everything you learn. If you can't validate, get rid of it. Right? You see these people coming along saying, "Oh, the 12 signs, that's old-fashioned. Now NASA tells you there are 13 signs. A fucus has jumped in." They jump to a new truth just so flippantly and quickly without having any solid basis, and they teach it and preach it as if it's true. No grounding, no direct knowledge. Well, there is a system of 13, it's lunar, but it doesn't discredit and debunk the system of 12. It just complements it. Jazz does not debunk blues. Just because the jazz musicians think they're better than the blues musicians, they can't say, hey, you can't play blues anymore because jazz is better. It's a better system. It makes people happy.
What is your take on like the Neanderthal and alien hybrid, like human hybrid, something like that?
Well, the story of Cro-Magnon becoming from ascending from Neanderthal, what was it, 15,000 years ago? When is Cro-Magnon? We got Cro-Magnon, yeah? When did that happen? 15,000 years ago? I forget now. But anyway, we jumped from Neanderthal to Cro-Magnon, okay? So, or Homo sapiens. From Homo sapiens to Homo sapiens, yeah?
Homo sapiens sapien. Homo sapiens sapien.
Oh, that's better. Homo sapiens sapien, yeah? Okay. So, I would like to offer a way of understanding that. I'm not saying this is how it is, but when the scriptures talk about the return of Christ, etc., the second coming, the Elysian fields, paradise which is coming, Armageddon, all of this hopeful about, Christ consciousness returning and the glorious golden days, it's all showing how the evolution of humanity, not that we've evolved a la Darwin, but evolution is a true doctrine, not Darwinian evolution. Forget about that. That's material. It's materialist because it starts from a material soup and goes back to cause. So a material nothing just made humanity and consciousness and everything like that, and then it goes back to spiritual causes. This is Aristotelian Newtonian rubbish, Darwinian rubbish. The Neoplatonists taught the opposite. Everything comes from causes, like that screen. It doesn't begin on the screen, it begins in a fire. That's where the information comes from. So, there are spiritual causes for all things. So when the return of the Christ comes, it means that man, his consciousness going from mineral, plant, animal to human, these are all steps which are road maps or pointers to the level of consciousness that humanity has been seeded with. So Cro-Magnon would be a way of saying that mankind received or came into a higher level, more developed in his nervous system at such and such a time. Has to be. Because they tell you, that's how they tell you that in academic conventional science. They tell you that Neanderthal was limited in his brain and then he became more erectus, you know, and became more intelligent. And now he's Cro-Magnon and we're very intelligent. Well, Michael Cremer, who teaches devolution rather than evolution, proves that we are devolving, evolving, devolving, evolving throughout all of history. That's how it works. So the return of consciousness is we forget it when we devolve, and then it comes back at the wave crest, and then the wave trough, it goes away, and that's why there's always a second coming of the Lord, and we're always waiting for this consciousness to come back and awaken us and save us from our ignorance and bad behaviour.
Now, to pick up on that, does that relate to the 25,000 year cycle that we're in?
Yes, absolutely. That's a cycle of necessity. And it's either 24,000 years minimum, and the most maximum it can be is 25,920 years. So it's a variable of 2,000 years. Why? Simple. Because the rate of precession is not constant. It's variable, the rate of precession. Well, because this cycle we're mentioning is the cycle of precession of the equinoxes, which is 25,000 years, right? Well, depending where you are in that cycle, if you measure it over here, it could be speeding up, it could be fast at that period. And then if you measure it over here, you'll say, oh, it's 24,000 years, it's really, really, really fast. But at its slow points when you measure it, it will read to you that it's going to go for 25,920 years, depending on where it's read, because it's variable, and you can prove that. The rate of precession is variable. I've seen the data from astronomy. I've seen that it's, they say it's 72, 1 degree every 72 years. Well, it's sped up recently to about 1 degree every 69 or 68 years. It's changing, it's variable.
I know that doesn't relate to the subject that we just covered, but what you're talking about, what's that about? You mentioned before that where the binary starts and where it ends. And there are others that have explored the possibility that where the binary starts is where the different star, like maybe Nibiru is another star. It's affecting us somehow. What can you tell us about that? How would we sort of make that all tie together?
So, in some, Sri Yukteswar, the guy who spoke of magnetism as divine magnetism, which I mentioned at the start of the presentation, he says that our sun is in a binary with Sirius, and it takes 24,000 years. Now, Sri Yukteswar was influenced by the Jesuits who have controlled India for 500 years, and so he was using an incorrect model to explain a very, very universal truth. We're in a cycle called the cycle of precession. And he says that Sirius is over here, and our sun is over here, and gee, I forget how to write the. I used to do this a lot, actually. So they're coming towards each other. Is it?
Yeah.
Do you remember how we used to do this?
I think you both made it as classes.
Oh, yeah, okay. So, it's like this. That's it. There's a central point here. That's it. So, what he says is that Sirius and our sun are in a binary. And what happens is, when they're furthest away from each other, like now, that's a long way away from each other, this is the Iron Age, the Kali Yuga, California. As the sun goes around to here, and Sirius comes to here, now they are close to each other. That's the Golden Age. Close, far away. So as Sirius is going away, it's redshift. When it comes back, it turns blue, which it is blue now. The Ptolemy mentions that Sirius was once red. Marcus Manilius says it was blue. So there's discrepancy. There's always, you can go online and Google, you can see all this story about syncretism being red or blue, and the arguments in history. Was it red or was it blue? Well, Sri Yukteswar says that it's basically red shift going away, blue shift coming towards. So we are now, supposedly, according to him, we are coming towards, and Sirius is coming towards us here as well. We're about here, and we've just entered the Dvapara Yuga, the second Yuga. Kali is the fourth. This is the third. Hang on, Treta Yuga. So we've got Satya. Satya is the first, the Golden Age. Treta, Silver Age. Dvapara, Copper Age, Bronze, and that's the Iron Age, the Kali. So you've got Satya, Treta, Dvapara, and Kali Yuga. So, and that's all in here. And he's got a graph in his book where he shows Iron Age, here, going down and going back is the Copper Age. Here will be the Silver Age, and all of this is the Golden Age. And you can see the Golden Age lasts for 12,000 years, and then all of this is the other 12,000 years of silver, copper, and iron. Now, how do we explain this with a horizontal stationary flat Earth? Easy. They are not binary, but they're not flying around in space. Sirius is the only star, possibly, that does not precess. In the Middle Ages, the Arabic astronomers, the Muslim and Persian astrologers, they were always monitoring Sirius and found that it does not precess. In fact, the pyramid, the Great Pyramid of Egypt, the Cheops or the Khufu pyramid, it has a king's chamber, and in the south, that's pointing to Sirius. The southern one, that's pointing to Theban. This one's pointing to, used to point to Polaris in the north, and this is to Sirius, and one is to Sirius. Anyway, one of the arguments that they made was that that chamber, Sirius has been in that chamber. You can still see today, you'll see Sirius through that chamber. It's lined up to Sirius and it's never changed. It's never precessed. So how I see it is that they are in a binary, and it is a 24,000 year cycle, but they're not flying around in space. Sirius comes closer to our sun and then goes back. It's a breath. So how it works, I don't know. But it could be that Sirius is another torus field solar system next to ours, which is a floating torus field. That's what it is. Shape of the heart. That's the Earth, the plane of inertia, planet of Eartha. This is the North Pole. This is the South Pole. It's a disk. Thank you, Stan Tenen. And Sirius is possibly another one over here. You know, just and they come into, you know, they're connected to each other because there's millions of these. We're not the only solar system. There's, read Bhagavad Gita, there's an endless amount of Brahman universes, like the endless amount of cells in your body. These are cells. And so Sirius is the girlfriend of our solar system somehow. It's the mother, Isis. She is the mother, the womb of this solar system. Her Taurus field energy is having a very sexual relationship with our solar system. That's why when the scriptures say Jesus of Nazareth, it's saying Jesus of Sirius. The Arabic words point to Sirius because our sun is Jesus. And if it's from Isis or Sirius, it's telling you that it is the mother system of our solar system. And this is why all the peoples attributed so much reverence to this star. In fact, we still call people Sir, yes, Sir, to this day. Because it is the most divine epithet and compliment you can give to people. And the Dogon people, Dogon, there you go, backwards, Dogon, no God, or to know God. See, the Dogon people, they were always monitoring Sirius and loving it and revering it because they knew the relationship. They knew the 49-year cycle of Sirius B going on around supposedly Sirius A. So it is the God star. It's the dog star and it's the God star. Dog and God are interchangeable. They call it the dog star because they're telling you the same letters mean God. You have to just pay attention. But yeah, there's definitely a relationship to answer. I hope I answered that as best I could, but I mean, sufficiently, but that's about the best I can come up with. No one else has come up with anything that impresses me about it, except for Walter Cruttenden's book on Sirius, but he's, you know, probably very conventional in his way of explaining it and using Jesuit Copernican explanations, which are all hocus pocus. All right, that's it. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Santos.